Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. If you don't know me, I've been rank 1 in Wild Rift all solo queue. I've been 5-role Sovereign all solo queue, and today I'm going to be talking about GPM and farming, with gold per minute is what GPM means, on mid laners. So basically how to get more gold on mid lane, how to be more efficient. These are kind of the key points. We're going to go over all of them with examples of how to do it on all types of mid laners. Also, in the link in the description, there is a Google Doc with key concepts that you need to understand for Wild Rift to make you a better player and videos associated with them. I will continue to add through that or to that doc throughout the season. And then also link in the description talks about my coaching if you're interested in that. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so getting right into it, there's two things that you need to understand from this clip, but the main thing you need to take away from this is understanding what your champion wants. So you're going to see from different clips throughout this video, different champions will have different purposes. The first 4 clips are going to be Orianna. So how would I classify Orianna? She's going to be a scaling mage who relies heavily on gold. So that's going to be any champion like Orianna, Syndra, Veigar, Victor, any champion that really likes getting a lot of gold and is mostly strong around 3, 4, 5 items, really playing to just scale up into the late game. These types of champions are going to want to follow this type of thought process in the early to mid game, and then we'll again just kind of go throughout this game with Orianna to show you what I mean. So lane phase, your goal is proc first strike if you have first strike. If you don't, then you don't have to do that, obviously. And your goal is to just get pressure in lane and keep the enemy in lane, poke them out, and just slowly whittle them down and get gold from the lane, get small gold advantages. Your goal is not to roam a lot, because these types of champions, they don't roam well. They don't do well in little 2v2s, 3v3s, roaming and ganking lanes, because early game they just don't do enough damage. So your goal is to constantly get poke in lane and use that poke to build up gold yourself. So you're going to see here, I don't know why it's a Kayn mid lane, but it's a Kayn mid lane. But I use my ultimate mostly because I want to blow his cooldowns and make it so that I can get gold from this lane. So blowing his flash, not his ultimate, blowing his flash by using my ultimate basically means that I can pressure him to recall, which allows me to get gold from the wave, get control over the wave, get a turret plate, and overall get a good recall off. So it basically trade hard in lane with the goal of getting small advantages like a turret plate and whatnot, rather than roaming. And then you'll take your proper recall. Here you're going to see I come back to lane. I see that Kayn rotates, and instead of matching a rotation as a mage, what I'm going to do is punish the fact that he rotated and hit the turret plates a lot. So as one of these scaling mages, your goal is get as much gold as possible on yourself in the lane, play very selfish, and just get gold. That's really all you're caring about. You're not going to be matching very many roams unless it looks super free. You're going to be trading hard in lane with the purpose of backing the enemy off so you can play for turret plates, and you're basically going to do everything you can in the first 6 minutes of the game to just get as many turret plates or as many waves, just as much gold on yourself as possible, more than anything else. Okay, so this next clip is going to talk about what to do after a fight, and the gist of it is that you want to value lanes and waves that have turrets that you can take. So for example, after this fight ends, or this sort of just skirmish, I go bot side for a couple of reasons. So if you look first, obviously the enemy could have zoned me off there. They could have tried to, hurt me, whatever. And the wave was already dying to the turret. There was no wave there because it's going to die to my turret, and there's no turret for me to take afterwards. Meanwhile, bot side, there is a full wave and a turret to be taken. And again, the enemy jungle is pretty low health. Enemy Aurora is low health, and so it's very unlikely that many people, if any people, contest me there. And so I know that just going here is going to be a lot more valuable in terms of getting gold. This is going to be something that you're going to want to do on most champions, not just an Orianna or scaling mage, but any type of champion really. And you see, once I realized that they've kind of all rotated, I end up going longer, where I was going to recall if I thought they were going to obviously come and try to kill me. But basically any champion, after a fight is won or after a fight occurs and you have, the enemy are low and they have to recall or they have to do something, you're going to take as much gold as you can from the lane. So notice how I didn't fully initially go for the turret because I was like a little worried that I might take damage. So what I'm doing is I'm whittling down the turret, I'm getting the wave that's easier to get, and I'm just getting as much gold as possible after a fight. It's very important to understand, after a fight occurs, take as much gold as you can, whether that's getting the easiest wave to get, going where there's a turret, these types of things. Okay, so this next example is going to cover 2 main concepts. So it's going to cover what I call cycling, and also how to understand when there's going to be a wave in a lane. So what I mean by cycling is you push a wave, and then you use the fact that you pushed a wave to go rotate to a different side of the map to go get another wave, and then you use the fact that you've pushed that wave to then go get another wave, and you just keep moving across the map, getting multiple waves. So obviously one wave, you know, spawns in each of the 3 lanes at one time. Your goal is to somehow get 2 of those 3 lanes that have spawned within that time. So obviously people don't always cover lanes right away, and so it's like, okay, I pushed the mid right away, nobody's gotten bot yet, now I want to get bot. Okay, now I push bot, now the next set of 3 waves that's coming, I want to get mid wave and maybe top wave. And then the other thing is going to be understanding how to get, or how to know when there's going to be another wave. So for example, right now, a wave is currently, if we look at on my mini map, so look at my mini map where my cursor is right now. My wave is currently at their tier, or at my tier 2 turret. And because my wave is at my tier 2 turret, their wave is going to be at their tier 2 turret, because it's of course matched. And so using this and understanding this makes it easier for you to know when you can immediately get on the wave. So for example here, I know I can immediately get on the wave because I see that. And then what that allows me to do is start my cycle. Because if I push the wave super quickly, not only does it make someone have to go respond, as you see Galio, for example, here, but it also means that there's going to be quite a long period of time until the next wave comes. So I have plenty of time to, for example, rotate and cycle bot side. Obviously, if you see a fight, you can take a fight. You don't have to avoid every fight. Leona does unfortunately run away when I try to ult onto her. But then notice how really what I get here, my prize from this fight is, again, I got the cycle, I got to get this entire bottom lane wave. Now, because my teammates are here, of course, I'm going to cycle back to the mid lane. And then as you see here, I get mid wave. And then what am I doing now that mid wave's pushed? I'm cycling to top side. Normally, I would have finished this mid wave, but Hecarim's there. And this top wave is going to die to my turret, so I want to get the top wave first. So I cycled to top side, as you're going to see here. And then what do I do after I cycle to top side? I immediately go back to mid because I know there's a mid wave coming. As we can see, of course, there's this wave that I didn't finish off. And then I know there's going to be another wave in mid because of the fact that my wave is currently at my tier 2. So theirs is going to be coming very soon, since my wave got stopped for a little bit by their wave. So basically you can see again just this constant cycling back and forth, trying to find as much gold as possible. Leona does take some gold here, but then notice, because again my Fiora was covering this mid wave I knew was going to come, so I'm like, okay, I'll let her cover it, I'll go take the wave that Leona's on instead. And then because I know that my wave is currently at my tier 2 turret, but my wave got stopped for a little bit by one of their waves being here, it means that their wave's actually going to come even quicker. As you can see here, I keep walking up knowing there's going to be another wave right about here, and then it comes. So obviously you can see, just understanding basically this concept of cycling. I get one wave pushed, I use the fact that it's pushed to go somewhere else to get that wave, I push that wave, use the fact that that's pushed to go somewhere else, and keep cycling between here. And then again, understanding that concept of, okay, my wave is at my tier 2, which means theirs is at their tier 2. And the only thing that might be confusing from all of this, because I know it was a lot, is why I knew that this wave was going to come a little bit quicker rather than being exactly neutral. And the reason, again, that I knew that this top lane wave would come a little earlier rather than it waiting until my wave got all the way to the middle point of the lane is because it was stopped for a little bit by the enemy minions. So obviously, if we think about it this way, we'll just go back a little bit and kind of talk about this. So we'll look at the wave right as it's spawning. You see currently my wave is at my tier 2, right? Which means and I'm looking in the top side of the map. My wave's currently at my tier 2. Because of that, their wave's at their tier 2. But then if we look at the wave for a little bit longer, as we go a little further, you're going to see it's getting stopped by these minions before the Caitlyn killed him. So there was a wave here, it was getting stopped by the minions. Because it was getting stopped for a little bit, it didn't progress further, but their wave that was at their tier 2 kept going further and further. And so because of that, I knew that it roughly, it would come 5-10 seconds before my wave got to the middle point of the lane. So again, those are kind of the main points. Now let's go on to the next clip. Okay, so this is the final clip from the Orianna game, and this is going to explain 2 things to you. First is understanding that hitting certain power spikes means that you no longer have to worry as much about farm, and also understanding the importance of Baron. So basically the gist of this is, when do I stop constantly farming, constantly doing the things that I was telling you about, being selfish, cycling between waves, just valuing gold and gold and gold and gold? Well, that's going to be when you hit certain power spikes, and different champions have different power spikes. So again, a champion like Orianna and scaling mages, usually they're much, much stronger when they hit their death cap. And so you're going to see here as the game progresses, I'm about to hit my death cap. It's going to happen right here. So we just won a fight. And obviously, again, after you win a fight, as we spoke about, you want to make sure you take as much as you can, which is why I decided to try to take as much of the mid turret as I can and get the mid wave, because this is where I see free gold. Honestly, in hindsight, could have gone bot side and gotten that bot turret. Probably would have been a bit better, hindsight-wise. But that aside, again, the main thing to take into account here is once I'm resetting on death cap. So I'm resetting on death cap. I've now hit my power spike. I don't need to concern myself as much with farming. Of course, I'm still going to farm, but I'm not going to, be catching as much side waves, doing as much cycling across the map as before. And then the other thing, again, is 11 minutes is when Baron spawns. Objectives before Baron don't really matter. A random dragon, a random herald, that's not going to win you most games. I don't really care about those. They're not that important. What matters more is gold. But once you get Baron spawning, that objective is more important than getting an extra 200 gold on the random side lane. And so what you're going to do from 11 minutes onwards is you're no longer going to really worry about the side opposite of Baron, unless there's like a split pusher, threatening your inhib and you need to stop it. But generally speaking, as a mid laner, you're going to worry a lot more about the middle lane and the side lane close to Baron. So we're going to cycle through the rest of this game and pretty much just show you what's happening. So now you see how I'm constantly walking towards the Baron and the middle lane. So I go and I push mid, I value mid prio. Then, after we get mid pushed, I value a fight here. Again, I'm concerned more with zoning and having control over Baron, poking around Baron, and using mid control or potentially the side lane control of the bottom lane, which is on the same side of Baron, to end up having, again, kind of control over Baron. But you see how the rest of the game is going to cycle more around, or is going to center more around fighting and control of Baron. So here we ended up, again, rotating, looking for kills. We get some kills here, and we're pretty much concerned with, again, control of lanes around Baron. So this is why I'm pushing out the bottom lane, for example. I'm hitting my item, but I'm also concerned with more getting the lanes around the Baron push. So again, I pushed out the mid wave, and then we used the fact that we had mid wave push to get the Baron. Then we back off, we push mid again, we value fights around mid and around the bottom side, pretty much constantly cycling. I'm just continuing to skip through the rest of this to show you guys. Again, we push out the mid lane, we push out the mid lane, we go in a fight here, we die in a fight. Not really concerned with the fighting. Again, it's more about the gold and the farm here. Come back to, lane when we respawn, go through mid, value, again, Baron spawning, value control around Baron, look for a fight around Baron, win a fight around Baron, use that to end up getting, more control. I end up kind of getting caught. Again, just going through this general thing here. And then this is the 19-minute mark, where now the Elder Dragon is the objective that matters, and you basically do the same thing, but it's Elder, so now I'm on the dragon side once again, since this is actually a dragon that matters. So at times you can value the third dragon if it's like a soul or you're trying to deny soul. If each team has one dragon, don't worry about it unless it's as a means to fight. But basically the point is, once you're hitting your key power spikes, whatever those are for your champion, and or once Baron is spawning, you value much more mid control to allow you to have control of the dragon or Baron, whatever matters more in the game for you. And again, you value the side lane of the key objective, which typically is going to be Baron. You just value a lot more of that rather than valuing side laning or just purely being concerned with gold. And because of that, again, you see I pretty much didn't go to the top side of the map for the 11 to 19 minute period until Elder spawns. So again, that's just kind of understanding when you want to shift your mindset from a very, very farm focused mindset to more of a fighting focused mindset. Okay, so for this next clip and for the next 5 clips, we're going to be following an Ahri game. And I really want to talk about the differences between playing a champion like Ahri versus Orianna. So champions like Orianna, Syndra, again, they're very farm focused. They really need to scale up and hit 3 items. Champions like Ahri, like Galio, roaming supportive kind of mid laners. I mean, Ahri obviously can carry, but she is still more supportive in a lot of ways. They need to be able to balance fighting and farming a lot more. It's not just farm, farm, farm until we hit our power spike. It's also when can we find angles to potentially move or, snowball, because obviously Ahri is a reset champion. So reset champions are naturally going to want to fight more often in order to kind of snowball the game. But a lot of the same concepts still apply. You still need to be pushing the wave before you roam. You still need to be, making sure that you're not just going super late to a roam when the enemy already roamed. Instead, again, you take the wave first. You kind of value that gold still first, and you're generally going to follow the same principles we talked about in the Ahri game. But we're going to show you guys some differences. So here's going to be the first difference. So once again, you see I'm still on the wave. Normal situation, nothing too complicated here. We are on the wave, playing for it. But you're going to see here I end up not immediately going for this next wave. And there's going to be a few reasons. So the first reason is this wave still has about 5-10 seconds before it reaches mid, because of course it's only at my tier 2 right now. And then again, ideally, normal situation, best time to roam is after you've already pushed the wave. So ideally I would push this wave, right? This mid wave that's coming. I would push it immediately, and then I would roam. However, in this situation, they have an Orianna who is going to out-poke me in lane. I don't have my flash up, and she's quite strong. I am 2-0, but she's even stronger. She's gotten multiple kills this game and farmed quite well so far. So because of that, if I can find an angle to move and make a play elsewhere, I'm happy to. But there have to be a lot of things present in order for it to make sense. So you can't just go and roam every time you see an angle where you think someone might die. There have to be a lot of kind of confounding factors all working together to allow you to roam. So, for example, the fact that the enemy are pushed up quite far right now in topside, that's one factor that's good. The fact that the wave and the enemy are pushed far up means they're more likely to be ganked. The second factor is that my jungler is on this side of the map. The third factor is that I, of course, have my ultimate up. So the fact that I have ultimate and ignite, I have my jungler rotating, and the enemy are pushed quite far up means that I'm going to start walking here. Now, it doesn't mean that if the enemy all of a sudden back off immediately, I'm going to keep walking forward. I would go back to my lane right away. But they end up not walking forward, which indicates to me that they didn't ever have a ward, which leads to me getting the kill in a successful roam. So again, the fact that I had a jungler who has good gank setup, I also forgot to mention good gank setup, so like Vi can ult very easily. If my jungler was a Viego, it'd be a lot harder, for example. But I have a very good engaged jungler, I have the enemy dual lane pushing very far forward, and I have my own ultimate and my tools available to kill the enemy, which allowed me to hover, to start rotating topside. But again, if the enemy didn't stay pushed up, that would mean they had vision, and that would mean I'd have to back off. But because they never ended up, you know, backing off of their turret, it meant that I very easily could do that and could make that roam successful. But what comes after the roam is as important as what comes during and before the roam, and that is staying to take as much as possible. So notice how I don't immediately just go back to Orianna. I've conceded that I'm going to lose some gold to Orianna in the lane here. What I'm going to do instead is take as much as I can from this lane, which means we're going to continue to pressure Milio, and then we're going to take turret plates afterwards as well. So the fact that we take turret plates, that we take waves, and then I even take the next wave here as well, is what makes this roam okay. It was not an okay roam to do if I just roamed and got the kill, because I would lose more gold to Orianna, because Orianna would get 3 turret plates, which is 450 gold. But because we got 3 turret plates for our teammates slash us, that's 450 gold as well. It looks like she gets 4 plates, so she gets 150 gold extra from that. But we get 2 kills to our teammates, which is 600 gold. So obviously, again, the gold is being spread, and that's the difference. You can see here, I'm 3-0, and I'm 4,900 gold. Orianna is 2-0, she's 5,300 gold. But we're spreading gold to other people as well. Our teammates are getting some kills. Our teammates are getting plates. Our teammates are getting some of the turrets, the waves. And so because our champion is snowball reliant and fight reliant, if we can find plays where we see all of these different factors coming together, like the Vi, you know, being in a position to gank, like the wave being pushed, like the enemy having no vision, like me having my ult, if all those things are coming together, then you can go. But again, if any of those things end up going, you know, haywire while you're walking towards the roam, you immediately go back and you just try to cut your losses and make sure Orianna doesn't get a bunch of plates. Okay, so in this next situation, you're going to see once again that I want to push the wave first. But again, you're going to see some situations the enemy just naturally get to push the wave first. They were all there, and Orianna has better wave clear than me early, and she's again quite strong still in this game. So I push the wave, and you can see I'm really valuing the wave, but Ori does get it slightly before me. However, as we can see right now, if we look on my minimap, my next wave is only at my tier 1 turret, which means I have quite a while until, or my tier 3 turret, so I have quite a while until it gets to the actual lane, which means I have, again, the ability to roam, which is why I end up looking to go bot side here. Why do I go bot side? Well, the first thing is their top laner is not yet here, so I know I can cut him off and potentially, you know, get some poke on him. The second reason is there's a big wave bottom side, and the third reason is there's a turret up. So the fact that I can take a potential turret, that there is already a pretty big wave bot side, and that the Poppy is late means that I can very likely get some value here. Now you're going to see, because I spend time roaming here, once again, Orianna gets gold in mid lane. However, again, she's not getting it for the first 20 seconds of my roam because the wave was not anywhere nearby, which meant it was, again, I got to use that time to easily get here and get value from this lane already. But then once I'm here, I need to continue to take value from the lane. So notice, again, I don't just go back to mid lane right away. My turret was already pretty low. Unfortunately, Gragas ults the wrong way. But my turret was already pretty low. I was going to lose that mid turret soon anyways. So I kind of just decided, like, hey, I'm going to lose that turret soon. I might as well get something somewhere else rather than constantly trying to protect a 1 HP turret against an Orianna who would way rather keep me in lane, you know, whereas my champion would way rather, again, move. So basically, we are aware of the fact that Orianna is going to get gold from that. But we know she's not going to get as much because we still pushed the wave in a timely manner. We roamed after there was no wave there for a while, and we roamed somewhere where we knew there was a very likely chance we'd get something done because, again, Gragas had ultimate, good engage, Gragas had the wave pushing, and there's a turret up there, so there's more that we can get after the roam works out well. Okay, so before we get into this next clip, I kind of want to acknowledge the fact that I know a lot of these things are about roaming and less about gold, but the reason is because those are directly correlated. Like, deciding on when to roam is related to gold value. So if I'm just going to explain a general thing and then we're going to go into this next clip, but basically, if I decide to take a roam, I want to make sure that I'm getting more gold value from that than the enemy. So let's say we go and roam and we're going topside where there's potentially 2 people. This is a hypothetical, it's not this current situation on your screen. But let's say in a hypothetical, we're roaming topside and there's 2 people topside on the enemy team. If we kill them both, we get 600 gold roughly because we get 300 gold for each person, and an assist might make an extra 100, but for simplicity's sake, we'll say we could get 600 gold. That'd be the most likely outcome. Let's say that because it's the most likely outcome, because again, it's a situation like where my Vi is going and other people are going, that I think there's a 50% chance of getting 600 gold. Then let's say I think there's a 25% chance of us getting 1 kill. So there's a 25% chance we could get 300 gold. There is a 50% chance we could get 600 gold. And then let's say there is a 25% chance we get 0 gold or even die. And let's just say overall is negative 100 gold, 25% chance of negative 100 gold. So because of that, we do the math and we decide, okay, well, our expected return from that play is going to be a little bit over 300 gold. So if I'm only giving up and this is obviously very rough math, I'm not literally calculating things in my head, I'm just like roughly doing it during the game. If I can get roughly 300 gold out of my roam without losing 300 gold, it's beneficial. So if I give up 1 wave to the enemy, and then I also lose that wave, I'm gonna lose 400 gold because the enemy get 200 gold from the wave, and I lose 200 gold from not getting that wave. So it's not worthwhile because it's only worth roughly 300, 350 gold for me roaming on average, but I'm going to lose 400 gold. But if I go to that roam and then I think, well, it's very likely I can get waves after, or I can get a turret after, that increases the value of the play. And so I just wanted to make it clear that these roaming things, and why I'm talking about roaming so much, is because I want you guys to be aware of gold value on the plays and how much gold you're getting from an individual play. But now let's just get into this clip as well. So as it relates to this next clip, so basically first thing we want to talk about is you push the wave and then you push the next wave. So not only do I push this current wave, but I also push, you can see the next wave because I know another wave is going to come because my wave is coming. So if my next wave is coming, you know, is right here right now, their wave's obviously going to be here. So before I roam, I push this wave. And then this is where we start our cycling again. So notice I'm cycling the top side. As we said, you've pushed the mid wave early, just like the Orianna example earlier. You cycle to the next wave. I cycle top side. Then I got the top wave. Because my teammates are covering, I'm not going to go get an additional wave. I'm going to go cycle back to mid. And then in this case, Vi gives us, you know, a nice little gank here. I got a little scared of getting Varus ulted, which is why I kind of went back. But then you can see, you know, again, Vi ends up setting us up nicely, and we get a little double kill, which is obviously very good. But then instead of trying to take a bunch of the turret here, you know, I take a little bit and I try to get a little bit of the wave. But instead of trying to take the full wave, because I see the enemy here, I end up giving up 2 minions and then again cycling somewhere else. So basically what you can see so far, push mid wave. We knew another mid wave was coming because we looked at where our wave was. Push that wave. Then we use the fact that we've pushed those waves to cycle into top side. Once we push the top wave, we cycle back into mid. Then we push the mid wave. In this case, we had a fight on the mid wave. We take as much value as we can from the fight, which was getting some damage on the turret and getting some of the wave. But then we cycle into bot side because there's a bot side turret up and there's a bot side wave up. And in this case, giving up 2 minions to the Poppy because I can't really, you know, I'd be wasting too much time, is definitely worth getting an entire bot side turret and some of the wave as well. As you can see, we got the turret here. And then we recall by the time Poppy gets here. So you can see, cycle from mid to top, back to mid, and then to bot. And I'm just getting gold all over the map, taking turrets, getting as much value from my time as possible. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how you kind of can give up a little bit as a champion like Ahri or Galio or more supportive or roaming champion. But I also want to talk about how you still need to value gold very heavily, and you can't just do this every single time. You can't just always be like, oh, I can just skip a wave to go for a fight. And so this is going to be a situation where we take gold instead. And we're going to talk about why. Maybe you guys can think about why as well. But basically here, so why do I go on mid wave right away? Well, it's pretty simple. Orianna just pushed it. I'm going to go get the mid wave right away because then we can rotate after if we want, after we push a mid wave. But if we look at it here, Orianna gets a roam much faster than us. Like, she pushed a wave first, so she gets the initial play. And it's going to be, you know, it's going to happen. You're going to be losing lane or the enemy are going to have prio for whatever reason. And when they have prio, matching them late is only going to be good in specific circumstances where you're very likely to win the fight because, you know, maybe you're super, super strong, or your teammates are winning the fight already, or whatever the case might be. But if you think the fight's not that likely to work out, or it's over things that don't matter, then what you're going to do instead is what I do here. So you're going to just go get the additional mid wave and then use the fact that you pushed an additional mid wave to make a play elsewhere or do something else. So instead of trying to match the fight late, where again, Orianna was already there, she was going to get there quicker, and I was going to be late, the fight might be done by that time, I'd rather do something more efficient with my time. And again, the time where it's going to make sense to do this are when there's no objective up. So there's no objective up, so this fight doesn't matter. If my teammates all died there, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to lose an objective. I'm not even going to lose a turret. You know, I'm not going to lose pretty much anything especially beneficial at this point in the game. So if I can get additional gold for free, like getting a turret because I, you know, am late, that's fine. If I was on the wave first and then I got to roam, then that's fine. But because Orianna got to be, you know, first, she was on the wave first, I'd rather take more gold elsewhere by looking for a play, for example, getting some of the mid turret, getting the mid wave, rather than, you know, really just going to a fight super late. Because I'm sure you've all experienced the thing where we end up going to a fight and then we end up being late to the fight. The fight's over by the time we get there, and then now we're stuck. Now we have to recall with our team, or we have to go late to a fight, and it's just overall not very good. Whereas in this situation, instead you end up again, at least getting something out of it. And then here I do get a bit greedy for turret, frankly. Didn't really need to do this. But you can see, again, like, it's not a big deal. The reason my greed's not a big deal, it's, again, not correct. I shouldn't have done this, don't get me wrong. But the reason the greed's not a big deal is because there's no objective up. And so when you greed for a turret, or you play more greedy for some gold, it's not a big deal to die if there's no objective up, because you're still going to get, like, again, I got the turret's going to give me more value than my death typically will. Because I had a shutdown, it was bad. Like, say I did that and I was 3-3, you know, and I had no shutdown, it was perfectly fine. But because I did that when I had a shutdown, I did end up having bad expected gold value, because again, I give away like 900 gold, whereas I only probably got 500, you know, from getting the wave, the turret, that type of stuff. But generally speaking, if your death timer is going to happen before, or is going to be shorter than the objective spawn timer, it's okay to be a bit more greedy as well. So again, basically what you want to take from this is you don't need to try to, you know, late match a roam from the enemy if they get on the wave first. Instead, take the next wave and then use that prio you get from being on the next wave to make a play elsewhere, get a turret elsewhere, do something else. And then it's okay to be greedy if you do get, or if the objective is not spawning for a while. But again, in this case, I was a bit too greedy. Okay, and then the final clip is just going to be, all right, we hit the 11-minute mark. Now look what we do. We fight a bunch. You know, I'm not going to show you the entire game like last time, because there's no reason to show it again. But basically what happens, we are hitting our, you know, we're pretty strong. 11 minutes is happening, so we're starting to fight. You can see here we're fighting over Dragon instead of Baron. Why is that? Well, it's because most people suck at Wild Rift and will fight Dragons instead of Barons. Any good player would have been Baron right now, but because my teammates were all fighting Dragon, if I know the enemy aren't going to get Baron and I think we're strong enough to fight Baron, or to fight Dragon, then I'll fight it. So basically, once you hit the 11-minute mark, again, you want to fight. That's what I want to show you guys here. It's a lot more concerned with fighting when you're ahead, or even if you're super far behind, keep farming and hitting your power spike. But if you're strong, you're doing well, you value the fights a lot more at the 11-minute mark, or if the game's, you know, pretty even. But again, you want to value that Baron over Dragon. However, again, if your teammates go to fight Dragon and you know the enemy aren't sneaking Baron because you have vision on it, or you see the enemy at Dragon and you think the fight looks good, then it's totally fine to go with the fight, because solo queue teammates will fight. And if you can fight and you think the fight looks winning, then you should definitely go. Okay, so the final game we're going to go over is going to be a Jace game. So again, we talked about playing scaling mages who really rely solely on getting gold and hitting that death cap power spike like Syndra, Orianna. We also talked about playing the more roaming supportive champions, so Ahri, who really likes to roam, Lissandra, Vex, those types of champions. But also Galio, for example, and other supportive mids are all going to fall into a similar sort of line of thinking as the Ahri example in a lot of ways. And then we have Jace, who is going to be a champion who is similarly reliant on gold to Orianna, however has much stronger early game and much better turret pushing capabilities, so he can kind of abuse turrets a little harder, as you're going to see. And we're going to talk a little bit about that distinction, and we're also going to talk about how to play while being camped really hard here. So initially here, going into this, I'm going to be camped for quite a while of this game. Twisted Fate and Vi, they're very good at ganking and setting up ganks, so naturally when they do gank, I'm going to struggle a bit. However, you're going to see I'm going to do something that gets me a bunch of gold regardless. So the first thing is, obviously, Twisted Fate roams here. I push the wave, and because he roams, I punish him by getting the turret. Nothing too complicated here. You guys would all do this. You know, you'd push the wave, and then you take turret plates because the enemy roamed. What happens next is what I want to talk about. Notice how I go past the turret and I get this wave. So why do I do this? So the first thing is Twisted Fate's obviously dead. Enemy dual lane are not going to rotate mid 95% of the time. I see Set. So the only person who could come is Vi. Where's Vi going to come from? Top side, because that's where she just was. So I want to make sure I hover the bottom side to make it less likely that I die. That's the first thing. Second thing is expected gold value again. So I expect, or I guarantee that I'm getting 200 gold from this wave. A wave gives you roughly 200. Again, not exact math, but it's roughly 200 gold. A turret plates gives me 350 gold. So I'm guaranteeing myself 350 gold from this play. I know I'm going to get another turret plate even if Vi ended up coming and killing me, and I know I'm going to get 200 gold from that wave. Additionally, I might deny them some gold since Twisted Fate won't respawn right away. So even if I die here, I'm giving up 300 gold and I'm getting 350 gold, so the expected gold value is quite good. Additionally, the enemy just fought. Usually when they fight, they use ultimates, they use flashes, they use spells, so it's likely that Vi won't be able to fight me. Here she did have ult. And then additionally, I'm pretty strong, so if Vi tries to fight me, you're going to see I'm going to be literally one auto attack away from killing her. We do die, but it's literally one auto attack from killing her. So when you're getting camped a lot, value the wave, value the turret plates, as long as you can, determine that the expected gold value is similar to or even greater than the potential risk of you dying. Because again, dying isn't guaranteed there, but getting those waves and those turret plates is guaranteed. And again, it's going to give me 350 gold versus only giving up 300. However, here, because I did die, obviously, I gave up a little bit of turret plates. But since I pushed that additional wave under his turret, it meant that Twisted Fate didn't get on my turret until my death timer was only about 5 seconds, which meant, obviously, if my jungler was ever helping, it would be pretty easy for him to cover the wave and deny Twisted Fate a lot. And then additionally, if Twisted Fate does decide to take turret plates, because we push that additional wave, he's going to get stuck in lane afterwards as I respawn, which is what you see here, where now because he's stuck in lane and I've spent my gold and I got a lot of gold out that play, in the long run, I'm denying, I'm taking his exhaust, for example. I'm poking him out under turret. I'm giving myself a chance to roam or get pressure on the wave or whatever. Vi comes again because, the Vi does like me quite a bit. But you can see very frequently, we're not only drawing pressure from Vi, because that means that's time that Vi can't be ganking our teammates as much, but we're making sure to, again, think about the expected gold value, value the turret plates and the waves over trying to not die. Because trying to not die against a, Twisted Fate and a Vi, it's not going to happen. If they want you to die, they will click on you and you will die. That's just how these champions work. That's how certain matchups work. Lysandre's another champion that she can very easily set up ganks, and sometimes you can't avoid deaths. But what you can do is always make sure to get the wave and turret plates out of those types of situations. Okay, so this next clip's going to be a pretty similar thing. So first thing I want you to notice how I'm getting on the wave right away. Immediately get on the wave to get it pushed. Then I go for turret plates. Why do I not care about dying here? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First is we're losing. So your risk tolerance can be increased when you are losing. If the game is going negatively, then you can take more risky plays for gold. Because what happens when I draw multiple people to me? Because first thing is, if it's just Twisted Fate here, I'll kill him. I'm stronger than him. But if Vi is here, I'm drawing pressure away from my team. So that means that my teammates can make a play topside, for example. As you see right now, that Seraphine is very vulnerable and could potentially die. I am, again, pushing the wave and guaranteeing myself gold. So once again, 200 gold guaranteed from the wave, at least one plate, 350 gold total. And all I'm going to lose is potentially my life. But again, I'm not guaranteed to lose my life. I could outplay, I could kill someone, something that positive could happen, and I'm drawing pressure away in the same situation. So notice how they have to flash onto me, they have to use ultimates, and even then, I can get one. And I draw pressure, and I draw the enemy away from my team. So I'm not saying you're going to outplay like this every time. You saw the previous situation, I didn't outplay. Vi was 1 HP, and she barely lived as, I wasn't able to auto-attack her. But this time, once again, we're doing the same thing. We get that guaranteed gold value, and then we also end up getting a turret plate. We get a kill out of it in that situation. And so once again, you can see the gold between me and Twisted Fate is dead even though he's gotten more roams off. He's gotten more help from jungle, and he's been able to do overall more because we're taking all of this guaranteed gold. So even though our team is in kind of a bad situation, we can increase our risk tolerance, we can guarantee we get the wave and the plates, and then we have the potential for outplay as well. Okay, so this next situation is going to draw on how to get additional gold by getting better gold bounties, and also by making it possible to get turrets even when behind. And this is going to be a concept I kind of call stacking a lane. What I mean by that is, instead of going topside here, which is the only wave not covered by a laner, my ADC and supporter are mid lane, my top laner is obviously in the Baron lane, but nobody is in the duo lane right now. I mean, technically Morgana's there, but that's a jungler, so it's not really, as relevant to keep in mind. So why do I end up following my Pantheon here? It's because Set has 600 gold worth of value because he has a shutdown right now. Additionally, Pantheon has good gank setup. And again, I can take more risks and do more weird things, because if I do get this kill here, I get a shutdown. Then if I get the shutdown, I have the potential to get the wave, and I have the potential to get the turret. I have the potential to get a lot of things, because I end up stacking a lane rather than going to where I'm typically supposed to be. So if there's a lot of gold in one lane where you can possibly have a numbers advantage, especially when behind, it's going to be important. This is not something you would want to do if you're ahead as much, because you know the set wouldn't be worth as much gold and there wouldn't be as much value from it. But because the set is worth a bunch of gold, my Pantheon's kind of inting at this point, if you guys can't tell. And again, because I'm not going to probably gain anything just going and matching the enemy topside or whatever, it makes a lot more sense to make one of these more risky plays. And then again, notice how I didn't recall. You look at my HP, I didn't recall. Why didn't I recall? Because a bunch of the enemy are topside, and again, my risk tolerance is increased because I value the wave and I value the turret more, because I need to come back. I need gold in myself in order to carry this game. I can't just let the game keep progressing naturally. This is where the critical thinking aspect of Wild Rift comes in. If the game is progressing in a negative way, you need to find a way to make it progress differently, right? Like if I'm winning, if the game's going super well, I'll keep fighting like I've been fighting. I'll keep doing what I've been doing. I'll keep pushing the mid wave, then roaming. I'll keep, you know, just doing the fundamental good things. But when the game is not going positively, when the game is looking quite lost, you need to find a way to break open the game, to do something different, to be creative. And that's where the creativity comes in from something like this, is stacking a lane to get additional gold from that shutdown, where he's not going to expect the mid laner to already be there instead of being on a wave, you know, that's going to make a lot more sense to be on. And there's, again, a turret to take out of it. There's just more to take out of it. And then there's also, again, being even more risky here, going for more, because I know a lot of the enemy are topside. And again, I have really nothing to lose. So basically, when you have nothing to lose, because your team is losing quite badly, you can be a bit more risky and do a bit more, you know, crazy stuff. In order to create potential comebacks, because you're going to get a lot of gold. So basically here, like if the thing goes, or if the play goes completely positive, I will kill set, get 600 gold, get a wave, get 200 gold, get another wave, get 200 more gold, get a kill on Twisted Fate, 300 gold, that's 1300 gold so far. And then potentially get a turret, which I don't know exactly how much it gives you, but it's like 300-400. Like it's going to give me over 1500 gold from this play if everything works out perfectly. And here you see we do indeed outplay him, and everything works out perfectly. So even though this isn't the most likely outcome, the 1500 gold, every other outcome probably leads to me losing the game, because my team's already losing, the game progresses naturally, I keep farming and you know, being safe, nothing happens. But if you make these types of plays where you stack a lane, you look for that shutdown, you look for the lanes that have the turrets up or the gold bounties up, then you have the potential to hugely swing the game and find an angle where now all of a sudden I'm going to be extremely, extremely strong and continue to have the ability to actually, you know, snowball my own lead and kind of solo carry this type of game. So this is going to be a relatively similar situation, but basically numbers advantage is another reason that you can increase your risk tolerance. So if you notice here, Corki died on the enemy team, and the enemy kind of stacked, you know, topside, and it didn't work out well for them. So because I know I have a numbers advantage here, since Twisted Fate's not here and Corki's dead, I end up just going for the turret, because again, we're still behind, the game's still not going well. So I would way rather make, once again, a more risky play, because the enemy are dead. So like, since one of the enemy are dead, we have the numbers advantage. We know we can be more risky, and then because we're behind, we also know we can be more risky. So I value that turret, get the turret, and then decide to fight after. Whereas again, if Corki was alive there and Corki was missing on the map, or we were already ahead, there'd be no reason to take that kind of risk. Okay, and here we're gonna have the final clip for this video. So once again, you see us hitting that 11-minute mark. Now, if we're hitting that 11-minute mark and we're way behind, we're not gonna wanna do what I'm gonna do here. But the reason that I end up fighting is because I'm hitting my power spike. Notice how I just hit 3 items here. 3 items at 10 minutes and 30 seconds is absurdly fast. Like I am like 1,000 gold per minute, mega fed. So even though my team is still behind here, they're not winning, we're not winning the game, I'm hitting my strongest point I'm gonna be. A Jace is not a 5-item champion. You know, like the later the game goes, the worse Jace is. So you need to use the fact that you've hit your power spike to try to force a fight in these types of situations. Because once again, risk tolerance, this is probably the best chance we have to win the game. We've started making some of these risky plays that ended up working out and getting me good gold. I don't want to just keep doing that and doing that. What I want now is to use the fact that I got additional gold to fight. And then what you're going to see next is why it doesn't always work out. Because sometimes your Pantheon randomly ults in and dies for no reason. And, you know, like there's nothing you can do. Not every play, just because you decide to make the proper choice, is going to work out. And that's kind of what I also want you guys to see here. So I want you guys to see that you really want to fight around your power spikes when you're hitting those power spikes. Since I just hit my Serildas, want to really fight around it. But then additionally, sometimes your teammate's still going to int and it's not going to work out. However, notice what we do next is immediately go to mid, value the mid wave, and use the pressure from mid wave to get pressure on the Baron. And because we have pressure on Baron, as you're going to see here, we're able to kind of poke the enemy out, try to invade them, try to get some value. And you'll basically see what happens from here. Like, essentially, it's just we play the fight, and it's a messy fight. It doesn't work out at all perfectly, and, you know, again, could have definitely been played better, whatever. But the point is, because we're making these plays where we're fighting on our power spikes, I did so much damage in this fight, even though I got caught out, and that leads to this kind of, you know, more positive outcome where Jinx is able to do some things and ends up leading to us getting Baron in the long run. Again, it's kind of a messy situation, but eventually, like, similar things happen. I believe we got Baron. Yeah, we got Baron off this fight, and we kind of, you know, win the fight from there. We did lose this game because, again, there's a lot of messy things. You can kind of see, you know, the teammates, or we lost this game. I think maybe I said we lost this game because teammates did some weird things, and, you know, things happen. Doesn't matter. The point here, again, that I want you guys to understand is you want to fight around your power spikes. You're not just farming to farm. Don't just farm and farm and farm. Use these farming concepts that I've given you guys to then eventually find those angles to fight around your power spikes, to fight when you get strong, and then that's how you're going to stage these types of comebacks or stage these snowball, you know, things to occur and whatnot. So that's the final clip there. Now we're going to get into the outro. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, these are some of the main notes from the video. Obviously, again, I want to really kind of note the differences between scaling mages versus more supportive or roaming mids versus a champion like, you know, Jace or snowballing early game mid. So kind of understanding those differences, but then also understanding the similarities, you know, the cycling aspect where you're cycling from one lane to another, or the valuing the actual expected gold outcome of a play over, you know, random fights, especially not around objectives, and then shifting your mindset 11 minutes onwards when Baron spawns to really now being more focused on, you know, that Baron and the fighting around your power spikes as well. If we understand these different concepts of farming, we're really going to be able to probably play a lot better just in a majority of games. If you like these types of videos, you know, like, subscribe, do those types of things. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.